I think, part of an entrepreneurial journey, let me step back first and make it a generalized thing first before I connect it to myself. I think everybody, as in every entrepreneurial journey, has a big component of self awareness and self development. If you don't know yourself, you can't risk everything you've done in life to go after your passion.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Unconventional. Today's guest is Kam. How do I say your last name?
Tabarraee.
Tabarraee. Kam Tabarraee.
I don't even say my own last name, honestly.
Yeah. Kam T.
Kam T. Kam the Bootleggers. There we go.
There you go. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you.
We have a ritual where we shake hands.
I like it. I like shaking hands. I'm a hugger, shaking hands, all the touchy-feely stuff all the way.
I'm very much the same way. So I think from my research, you've actually got quite an interesting backstory even prior to Bootleggers. But Bootleggers is like the visual. It's like what I see up front. So if I go on your today, when I go on your Instagram, when I go on social media, this is what I see. So naturally, this being part of your branding, I think it's appropriate that we start with the
Bootleggers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Should we do that?
Absolutely. Everybody says bootlegger. So the proper way to start would be, you want a little kick with espresso martini, you want a nice tropical feeling, or you want something a little nice and boozy to kick it in. That's your choice.
Yeah. So I get to pick.
You got to pick.
I get to pick. So
choose based on the art.
I had half a cup of coffee. So if I have any more caffeine, I'm gonna
die. All right. I would say, you know what? Let's go with the people pleaser.
Yeah.
This is the people pleaser. We call it the Phoenix Feather. Is basically like a passion fruit margarita almost. Is tequila with, give it a quick 2-second shake. Good enough.
Boom.
And the reason we do that is because there's real ingredients in it. So, the same way that they, I'll do the one.
Yeah, you got to do one too. Yeah.
The same way that, you got cold pressed juice and it deposits after a few minutes of sitting. That's the same thing. You just bring it back to life because there's real fruit in it. Right. You're having the tequila passion fruit.
Cheers.
I have mezcal with grapefruit and yuzu. Cheers. It's good, man. I don't know. I don't know if this is okay to do this, but this is fantastic. How is it?
We're gonna do. It's awesome, man.
Now, anything else you've ever had in a can? How do you feel after this?
Oh man, this is
doesn't taste the same, right?
It tastes fresh,
right?
Like as if I just had a bartender mix this together.
Thank you.
That's what it tastes like. Yeah,
that's what it is.
Like I'm not kidding. You guys can't feel what I'm feeling in my mouth, but there's texture to this. It almost. That's why the shake.
That's why the shake is real. There's real passion fruit. The fruit actually juiced with actual mango and actual lime juice, and of course cane sugar syrup. Same way we make a cocktail. The whole pitch behind Bootleggers is on the product side is that we want to bring a craft cocktail experience in a can to people, because how easy is to every night go to a cocktail bar? First of all, there are not that many cocktail bars. Yeah. Second, if you want to go on the weekend, it's busy, it's freaking expensive, right? And there's no other choice, So we basically, because of the way alcohol is regulated and the society in the retail market is governed, we basically are okay with drinking shit all our life, right?
Yeah.
We pay $150 to go to a gala to get in a cup vodka soda with the shittiest vodka for $25, and we're okay with it. How are we okay with it, right? I wasn't okay with it, so I did this.
You saw the problem and you solved that problem in the industry. So, I want to talk about Bootlegger, and I think we're going to go into detail. I just wanted to start with the sip because that's the way to it's the way to get it started. But I want to talk about your backstory before the Bootlegger. Okay, so this is what you have to approve.
Of course.
So I was doing my research. Usually Karn does all the research, but I figured if I'm going to be here, tell me.
Absolutely.
Is this you?
That is me. That is
That is you. Can we pull that up on
100%.
So when I see all the Instagram, like I said, social media presence, this is what caught me by surprise.
Absolutely.
So
it was at UBC. I was doing my master's degree in electrical engineering. That's how I moved to Canada back in almost 15 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
And this was every student, because I was part of a lab who, I was doing a research program. I had some scholarship to the research program. My professor was paying me like an employee basically to do research as part of my study. And in the lab that we're all masters and PhD students, after the first semester, once you're good and you're doing, we were helping with we were doing, what do you call it? The person who helps with the course, but is not the professor.
Oh, TA.
TA, yes, teacher assistant, right? So I was TA, and everybody that's you're a TA, you have the list of courses there, so students could go look you up. So I had a page. That was my first own page, professional page.
This is
right?
you.
That was me. Yeah.
And so the reason I wanted to bring this up because if you're familiar with Kam, if you've seen him at his gala, his events, or you've heard of him through Bootlegger or on his YouTube, like you're pretty active on social media. This is not what you'd expect. No. Like, and not that I doubted you, Kam, but I was like, man, this guy's smart. This guy's.
It's a secret little thing that I don't like to. It's funny because when I was an engineer and in that world, we're all nerds, right? In that world, and I have my nerdy side as well, but I'm also very social, right? Personality-wise, so that was the trigger for me that I couldn't stand it anymore. At some point, I had to break through and do my thing, be in the environment that I thrive and all that socially. But, as much as, and I think I was book smart or math smart, I was smart enough to be able to obviously finish a master's degree at UBC, right? But it wasn't my trigger of life, right? So then I tried to separate myself from that. And even if I can hide that story for a while, to not get people to judge me, because I felt at some point on a social level, people were judging engineers by like, hey, this guy's a nerd. You want to go on a date? Girls who see, it's funny, I just say that as a joke, but there's reality behind it, right?
It's totally
that
true.
If you're a girl and you see an engineer is coming forward for a date, it feels like, maybe he's got a good job, he's smart, so my family's going to like it. So right away you go to like, oh, I'm married with children, right? And then on the same token, you just remove fun and excitement and being that guy from your scenarios in your head when you accept that date.
Right.
So I was going to go the opposite and say, I don't want to be identified like that when I ask somebody out, when I go out, present myself somewhere. So when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was already my engineering had already been shifted to insurance industry, but I was still an engineer in insurance industry for a couple of years. So that was my first layer of separating myself. And then when I did the full switch, I was bartending, right? I was back in the hospitality industry because my main first project was a art-inspired hospitality project. This is an art-inspired hospitality project, literally, right? As well. But it was like physical space. I was opening a cafe bar restaurant that was like an art gallery with different themes. It was fantastic, right? But I was in the industry. I was bartending. If I was asking somebody on a date, I'll be, I'm a bartender and mixologist and I'm doing a project.
Right.
Never said I'm an engineer or something. But then somebody would realize that they would be surprised in a pleasant way. Then he would not have that nerdy tag on it. Right?
They're like, Kam, you're too smart for this. There's something not adding up here.
But it's good. It's not something I'm proud of it, obviously.
Dude,
I'm proud
awesome.
of everything what I've done in life.
I think it gives you so much credibility.
But I don't want to rely on it until it's needed.
Sure.
I wanted to make it, if I'm growing as a bartender, as a mixologist, as an entrepreneur, I did not want to reveal that backstory until it's needed.
100%.
Because I got to be recognized by what I do in that exact moment and in that time. And I think it worked to a great extent. But I'm an engineer, full-on engineer. I worked as an engineer for 10 years. I had my P-Eng and everything. I worked from government to private, everything.
Right. So what's cool is when I do go into your social media, I almost see none of that side. So when I found that, I was like, this is interesting. I'm going to press on him a little bit.
Well, how many engineering social media things you've seen, right?
Yeah,
it's not a very social media-able thing.
Yeah, or how many engineers go into entrepreneurship or even...
They do, but then again, in their own way.
Exactly, in the engineering realm, right?
Yeah, you don't go start a cleaning company like all of a sudden, for example.
So for you, when did the passion for cocktails really start? Because if I go back to your social media, I go back to the first picture, and it's a picture of a drink.
Even when I was an engineer, right?
Even when you're an engineer,
funny? That's a good research. Well done. I gotta give you credit.
I was like, I'm meeting with an engineer. I gotta be prepared.
Right. So funny enough, I think part of an entrepreneurial journey. Let me step back first and make it a generalized thing first before I connect it to myself. I think everybody, every entrepreneurial journey, has a big component of self-awareness and self-development. If you don't know yourself, you can't risk everything you've done in life to go after your passion. That's the first requirement 101 is that you got to know yourself. You got to be very aware. You got to understand who you are, what triggers you, what's your personality type. I know how are you happy? How do you relate to other people? How do other people see you? All of that cool, spiritual stuff, whether you want to call it a spiritual self-development, all sorts of wellness, this, that, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't name things because everybody takes a side of it and starts a niche and they call it all of them. They're all amazing. I'm in favor of all of that. I have friends in all those communities and I go to them as well here and there. But I'm not any of them per se. Sure. I have my own way of things in life and I didn't try to preach it to people, but one day I'm going to probably preach it to people too. Yeah. If it worked for me, maybe it worked for other people. So as I was growing up, when I moved here, I was 22, right? I moved here to go to UBC for a master's degree because that was my ticket to leave Iran, right? I mean, Iran, as we all know, is an amazing, beautiful country, but, it's tough to live there. It's the reality of life, especially if you don't grow up like me in a super tight religious type of family, traditional family. Like my family, since I was a child, was trying to immigrate to Canada, actually, funny enough. Right? Weren't successful. So, when I had a chance, absolutely, I would pave the way, whatever way I can to get out of it. And that was an easy way. Engineering and continuing studies for Canada was an easy way. So I did that and I liked engineering. I mean, I was very always fascinated by how everything exists. For me, it's physics behind it more than math. Right. For a lot of people is math maybe, but I love the physics. I love to discover why is this light, why is this happening? Why do we have electricity, right? I was always fascinated. How does a camera work? I always wanted to learn that. So that's why I became an engineer. But then beside that, on a personal level, since I was a child, I was always social. I love the whole to be, within a social environment, mingle, talk. I talk a lot, obviously, as you can see. And I love to, talk about different things, present stuff. And I love the attention on the receiving end as well. And when I was a teenager, I think, I started having always this glamorous birthday parties. That was my thing. My project of the year was I want to have a great birthday party, right? And it's basically have a party, have an event. And there was a lot of, now that I look back at it in my self-awareness process, I realized that was totally dictated by my personality. I love the social settings. I wanted to make people happy. Right. And get a credit. That would make me happy to see I made the change. If I influence people for a little better feeling through a nice, fun, social interaction, that would give me so much happiness. That would actually give me fulfillment, which is the prerequisite to happiness is fulfillment. And to that extent, I always wanted to do this in a way, right? And I was doing it anyways. When I moved to Canada, I was, on my own 22, second semester at UBC, the Department of Continuing Studies, especially engineering, masters and PhD is as nerdy as it can be, right? So I needed a social thing beside it. So the second semester I went to the university pub and started getting a job as a barback and bartender. And it was I loved it so much. I loved cleaning the freaking table because it was such a big social interaction. And then the off shifts when I was getting a chance to bartend, you're like the king of the castle. Right. It's just nothing like it, right? And you're in control. It's fun. People are having fun. People are crying for their exams outside. They're coming inside. They're having fun. How great, right? And in that process, I discovered alcohol as the lubricant of the social experiment when, it loosens people up, it drops the guard. And I very quickly got triggered by that. And I started thinking about, I want to really grow on that social aspect of life. And I think alcohol in an artistic, cool way that ties into a proper social experience is probably one of the key elements. So I started learning bartending and mixology and making cocktails. And throwing a lot of parties, house parties. I would go to other people's parties. I would get invited to make drinks. And I was thinking every friend of mine that knows me from the moment I moved to Canada knows me with a cocktail in a party and in that moment. This is the memory everybody has of me, regardless of, nobody has memory of me as an engineer, right? I was a great freaking engineer. I had 6-figure salary. Nobody remembers me that, right? But everybody remembers me by the social side of it. When I called my friends after I started changing my life and started my entrepreneurial journey and said, hey, I'm actually going to quit. I have a plan and this. I want to open a bar or the hospitality artistic project and all that. 90% of my friends, the answer was or the first thing they said was, finally, good. Nobody said, why are you doing this? Are you crazy? Very little. My mother said, are you crazy, right? Obviously, his mother, right? Is
hold
concerned.
on. I gotta stop there because I talk about that a lot on the show. You're saying people, when you told your friends about it, they said, finally?
Yeah, they said, finally. Yeah, we all been waiting for you to do this, right?
No
like
way.
to that level, right? So when something's right, it's
I'm
right.
so happy to hear that because I feel like every other entrepreneur gets you're crazy for doing this. Don't you dare. You're not cut out for this. Like, are you sure you want to do this?
I mean, I would getting those as well, like the concerns from like, but like the first attitude, like the general attitude was good.
Right.
We expected this, nothing unusual, right? It was just a matter of time to come.
Right.
Of course, then they get the concern. Are you sure about this? Or this, like
course.
the good things that as a friend or a family, somebody does for you, right? I just want to make sure you're not crazy or something. But yeah, it was really meant to be. So that was the click of it when I was in university, right? And I really
how old were you
discovered
at the time?
22, 3, right? Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. I moved here before my 22nd birthday.
Yeah.
Which is in September. So it was exactly the start of the school season.
Right.
And this is within the first year of school, literally, right? And then I got a job before I finished my school. Like it was a 2-year program. I finished after a year and a few months. Like I was still doing my thesis. I got a job and I didn't even tell my supervisor because he didn't let me get a job. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get the job and not tell you. And I did that. And he didn't realize until today. And I got a job and started working and, I finished my thesis. And then I was in a work environment in a very old school company that was owned by BC Hydro. It's called Power Tech Labs. It was a great company. It was like a mad scientist dream in a way, but, a mad scientist dream in the 70s.
Right.
Not in 2020, right?
Right.
So everybody's like at the retirement age. They're all like these like testing facilities for like heavy equipment, for like heavy electrical equipment. I was a utility engineer. And, it's like rough, like it's very like, in super industrial, heavy industry, right? But then it was very interesting from the scientific industrial side of it.
Sure.
And I had this like twist between, I kind of like this, but on the social end and the lifestyle, it sucks. Like I'm going to somewhere in Surrey, not the good part of Surrey. It was like in Nordell Way and Scott Road, not the best part.
That's like right around where I live, but yeah.
But like there's like an area that is like sketchy and like you can walk in.
You're talking about Newton.
Yeah. And like, so, I'm trying to resist. I still live in Vancouver. I lived in Vancouver at the time. I took the commute every day for 8 years, right? And, but I survived it. I started traveling. I started partying and I was growing as an engineer. I was disrupting the company. Right. I disrupted the company. I was in the most money-making group of the company, which was like a little isolated island in the facility. And had a lot of pride in this matter, right? This new CEO comes to the company with the change movement and all that. The first thing I do, I'm going to him and was like, I need to change. You need to change. Everything needs to change. This is ridiculous. I can't be, in an environment where everybody's 75 years old. You got to bring young people. You got to let young people to grow and move around and experience life. And he was trying to do that anyways because he was a sharp guy with an MBA coming to here with a lot of industrial experience too. And I seized the opportunity and I grew in that company very fast, right? In the 8 years that I was there, I traveled to half United States with that company and I made my own group. I made my own, business development team and I had technical team. I had my own clients. I was going on these conferences that I had forced the company to send me. Otherwise, I said, I'm quitting. If you don't approve this, I quit. Like I made value for myself to be irreplaceable a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I did that, right? And it was great. I left a mark in that company. My clients were crying when I left and I said, I'm quitting and I'm going to insurance industry. The guy was like, they were offering me jobs. Like, do you want to come work for our company? Because how are we going to do this if you're not there, right?
Right.
And I was triggered to one of them. It was a startup company in San Francisco. And amazing people actually, and I never did it. And I'm happy I didn't do it because I needed to do what I do, right? But
I really what I really appreciate about your journey is that you were winning in the engineering world.
I did.
You were doing well. You were crushing it. You just had a calling for something else, and then I guess that's when you made that transition.
And exactly, I was getting there, right? That towards the end of my first engineering career in that 8 years, I was really doing really well. Like 2 weeks before I left that company, I got the biggest raise in the history of BC Hydro companies. Like 25% raise. Nobody gets a 25% raise in the government. Government has frozen salaries for years and stuff. Like it's a thing. And I left. 2 weeks after, because it wasn't about money. Like, it's not, I mean, look, if you have a corporate job and you make $5 million a month, keep it.
Yeah.
I would keep it. I'm not crazy. But, $150,000 is not that much money anymore, right? I mean, and then it doesn't grow after that. Corporate life is like this. So like you go up and then that's it.
Plateau, yeah.
Now, the whole world is going, the cost is going like this for the next 50 years. You're never going to catch up, right? So then you have to start doing things on the side and, playing, maybe get married to save money. Like, that's terrible, right? And that people move in together to save money. I don't think it's a horrible thing. It's the worst thing is to sacrifice your own space and your existence by force of that nature rather than moving in with somebody because you love them. Because you want to be with that person for the rest of your life, rather than, no, we're moving in because we want to save on rent.
Yeah.
Is that just mind-blowing, man?
Yeah.
I'd rather be homeless than doing that, honestly.
Dude, I love your honesty. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And then, but you're totally right. Like, I have friends that have worked at companies for 5 years, 10 years, and they've hit that plateau that you're talking about, and they're too scared to leap. Yeah. And I tell them every time, like, dude, like, the money will come and go. Like, are you happy doing what you're doing? And if the answer is no, are you fulfilled?
Right.
If the answer is no, then like you got to leave. You got to find your happiness. Right? Like no one's going to find it for you.
You know what's the problem? Happiness. They haven't found what is it that makes them happy. So that's the other thing. Self-awareness, self-knowledge is the prerequisite to every change. You got to know who you are, right?
For sure.
So in that whole journey, it was a great journey. Before that, as soon as I had my full-time job confirmed, I started traveling. That's the best thing I ever did in life. I say that out loud to everybody. I spent down payment of 5 houses in my 20s traveling. I could have had 5 houses. I could be built with multimillionaire right now if I had them and flipped them.
Right.
But I didn't do it. I traveled and I'm broke, right? And I have a business that is thriving.
Right.
But look what I can achieve.
For sure.
By my existence, right? I can make a change in the world. That's far more better than having, a potential $2 million through 5 houses for me. Not for everybody, right? But for me.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing I did in my life, was starting traveling in my 20s early. And I traveled the way I wanted. I didn't get to, I travel sometimes with friends, sometimes with family, sometimes with myself. A lot more with myself and a couple of candid people that, were my vibe. And when I traveled, I started exploring life through the lens of what's happening in that place, right? Let's go deep down into experience. People have different life experiences in different places, right? Part of life experience is the routine. But the real life experience that forms a culture, forms happiness, forms triggers, forms influence is what happens after the work, right? When you go out, when you go for a drink, when you go on a date, when you go to a concert, when you go to vacation, right? When you go chill, when you have a day off, right? Nobody ever comes and tries to sell you something out of their routine life because it's not attractive. Why it's not attractive? Because it is not attractive, because it's boring, because it's something you do by force for money. And if you remove that, that is, funny enough, more than 70% of your conscious life. I mean, again, sleeping is conscious as well, but it's not, you're not super conscious about it when you're not awake. But on the awake time of your life, you spend more than 70% of it at your work, and you hate it, and you don't talk about it, and you don't want to live that life. How do you do that?
For sure.
Have you asked that question?
Yeah, a lot of people, like, unless you're an entrepreneur, most people don't ask that question.
But they feel it.
For sure they feel it.
Right?
I know, because I've had these conversations, but they don't want to talk about it.
They don't want to talk about it.
I've read lots of books, and I've gone kind of similar in the entrepreneurship space. I found the word that describes this. 2 words: sleeping awake. Like, you go through the motions of life. You're awake, but are you really awake? Are you really conscious? Are you really focused? Are you really present?
Yeah.
And that's where those realizations came from me, right? Kind of.
100%. And that's a really good term, actually. I love it.
Sleeping awake, yeah.
Sleeping awake. It's crazy. So, that's where you find the real people. That's why you can connect with people.
For sure.
Right? Sometimes alcohol is involved. Sometimes, I don't know, recreational drugs are involved or whatever. Sometimes just music. Sometimes it's scenery. Sometimes the beach, right?
For sure.
Nothing more than nature and environment and design and lighting and all that creates a proper connection for an influence and for an experience, right? It's not always alcohol or drugs or whatever. I mean, this is a trigger.
For sure.
Right? But what I've tried to do when we get there is try to use the trigger itself as an experience. So which adds a lot more to the big experience itself, right? But eventually, everything is about an experience. Everything is about a trigger. an
Right.
influence,
Right.
right? So I try to discover life in that model in different places. And then I got a chance and I enforced it in my work as well to start traveling. So I was traveling every month almost to we had these like committee group meetings, technical committee group meetings in the US with my customers of utility industry. Every month or every 2 months, it would be somewhere in the Southeast for the most part. I would go Monday to Wednesday to those. Thursday is a full day of traveling back. I would take Friday off, one day off. I would take a one-way flight on Thursday somewhere I want to go in the US for the most part. I would extend, so with one day off and one-way trip and 2-3 nights of hotel, I have a full vacation. And then my flight back is paid for, right? Because I had to come back home anyway and one day off. And I did that. I milked that shit, man. Like I milked it so much. I probably in 2 years, I went 20 times in different places in the US for those meetings, and some of those places were themselves amazing.
You were traveling for work.
For work, yeah. And then I would take that one day off at the end of the week. And on rotation, I would be a lot going between Miami, LA, and Vegas, right? Because I love those places. There's a lot of art, entertainment, party music, different things in it. And and people, like I love people. I love big city vibe. I love, an environment that people, you feel the energy in these places, right? You go to LA, I mean, that's why our business is growing in LA now, is like there are people who are thriving on a daily basis, aggressively going after their targets and goals and, in a vibe, within a vibe that is about fun, experience, art, something that is fulfilling, something is not just money with walls and, blocks like real estate, but it affects your soul. Right. It affects your existence. It elevates your being at any given moment, right? Owning a house does not elevate your being spiritually, right? But feeling content because of having a bite of food that is, so satisfying that triggers all these senses, but that's transformative, right? A bite of a food could be transformative spiritually, right? It's like, it's a very interesting things. And I've experienced all of this, right? Through these travels, to close the loop on that, I literally experienced life through senses, through taste buds, through eyesight, through listening, through, the generic, coherent experience of music, art, venue, place, beach, lighting, sun, all of that. And the people, of course. People are a critical point of this whole experience, right? But if you trigger your senses at the right frequency in a harmonized model that all of them are triggered when they're paired together, like everything is like harmonized, then you get a resonance frequency, right? You got a resonance. Out of a resonance, what you feel is an exaggerated peak of an experience. You get that goosebump feeling that is so fulfilling that you feel like, ooh, if I died right now, I don't think I will have any regrets. I'm like so content. I'm so fulfilled. It was such a big shock of pleasure and spiritual fulfillment that I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm happy. Let's kill me, right? Yeah. We all get those feelings here and there.
For sure, yeah.
I've got so many of those feelings in life, right? That there was one day that I felt, on its own, more of this is not going to trigger me anymore. I need to share this with people. I need to influence people and actually give them this because, it's not about me anymore. I felt it. I think everybody else should feel this because if you feel this, you're not going to go start a war tomorrow anymore. Right. Because it's all about how you feel, how you are. And you know what? I use art, entertainment, cocktail, alcohol as the filter to give people this experience.
It's almost like the bridge.
It's a bridge. But behind the scenes, I'm trying to do the same spiritual work that a coach does in a different way. And I totally respect and love that. And I'm like really trying to also learn about how they do things, right? But this is my way of doing it, right? Through the front end of party, alcohol, art, music. Whereas these are the things that in real life, in a, biologically, trigger your senses. For sure. This is the easiest way to your heart. Let's put it that way, right? Because by the time I try to tell you and sell you on your back end of your mind and consciousness, I've probably lost half the audience, right? Right. But if I offer you this, your senses are already triggered, right? And they're already working. All I need to do is to walk you through it in a way that you have consciousness about how this is being digested and going down and how your senses are being worked on, which I, again, do that in a very a liberated model without
Right.
forcing people through the experience, which is very important. You got to let people
Right.
explore it with guidance themselves, because that's a
Right.
different
So
influence.
is this kind of like your focus on some of the events that you have, is you bring people in and then you try to help garner that experience for them?
100%.
That's your focus.
100%. On the events, that's always been the case, even in the product design.
For sure.
It's, you can see in every aspect of this can and what's in it.
For sure.
That's, you know,
For
that's
sure. So
behind it.
so
Right?
traveling, the experiences you had in traveling, you're able to kind of figure out a way to channel that into a product that then you could share with the world.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for
I
an
would.
experience.
So would you say like Bootlegger is like your product that you're trying to give, your experience that you're trying to give to the
Bootleggers
world?
is the cherry on top, the final edition of this journey that was about this, exactly, to provide that experience, to elevate and lift your soul and your existence for a better being, for a
Right.
better feeling, for a better, more content lifestyle.
For sure. I don't want to make this like a heavy infomercial, but I do want to talk about your product because
Absolutely.
I can tell you kind of what your product made me feel, and then I think I've already kind of messaged you
Yeah.
about this because like when I saw your drink for the first time, I connected it to like an energy drink, like a
Right.
Monster, Red Bull, kind of along that
Yeah.
line, and I was like, you should take the alcohol and make it an energy drink for sports or athletes. That's my
That doesn't
perception.
mean we're not
of-
going to do
No,
that in
yeah,
the future,
yeah.
but
and I think like, you know, there's no shortage of passion with what you're doing.
Mhm.
You're obviously really passionate about your work, your business. Tell me about Bootleggers. Tell me about
Mhm.
where the name came from, where
Of
the idea
course.
came from, your partners.
Of course.
Talk about your company a
Absolutely.
little
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I was gonna do, because Bootleggers is not me only, you know, is obviously a group effort and team effort. My partners are the most amazing entrepreneurs and, you know, souls ever as well. Our paths clicked and connected along the way, and Bootleggers was born out of that original kind of journey
bit. Mhm.
with these additional fabulous other visions to it, right?
Right.
So when I started my journey, it was 5 years ago. In my birthday, my 32nd birthday, I always had at a time, had one night in my birthday, and I'm a Virgo in September, you know, I celebrated elaborately for a month with no shame, right? I
Right,
love the
right.
party and the attention, but always one night around that weekend, I sit on my own, I have a solo experience, and I love it. I love my solo time, right? And, you know, I really think about where I am in life, where I want to
Right.
be. Am I happy? You know, it was a little pulse check for your life, right? In every aspect. And that year, and leading to that year, I was already making decisions, and I would see the changes that, you know, call it the 30 crisis or whatever, right? Or self-awakening, all of that together, I would say. And I was really not happy with where I am with my corporate life. And I've been like struggling for a couple of years. The reason I changed my first job to a second one, which was in insurance industry, was that because I felt more freedom, more social life. And it did. Like insurance industry, if anybody works in it, is all, you know, like golfing and drinking and this and this and this. Yeah, but it can take you so long, right?
Right.
Because it was not just about that for me. It was about every day,
Mhm.
not just one day with a client going somewhere. I
Right.
wanted a life that every day is as triggered as that goosebump feeling that I get in Mykonos by the beach at 4 a.m. when the sun is rising and there is music in the vibe and there is the wind blowing, right? Why can't I have that trigger in my life every day? That's the question. I ask this question to myself. And why can't other people have that every day with me? That was the second question, right? And these questions led me to a point that and I knew what I want to do in general, which was using alcohol as a trigger point and art as a sole element of transferring an experience
Right.
to create an experience for people, whether it's in person or digital or product or whatever.
Mhm.
At a time, pre-pandemic, it was more for me a hospitality form to it.
Right.
And I started the journey. I decided that the day after, I'm going to write a resume, start fully merging into a bartending scene, because I need to be in the industry to build something in the industry. And I'm going to start my business plan, and I'm going to start quitting my job within a year from that point, which I did exactly. So I started going part-time. I was bartending from the absolute base bottom of the shittiest pub in Richmond, and I was making over $100,000 salary, right?
Right.
I would drive from work. I would go, you know, clean the floor with 18-year-old kids. No problem. No ego. Absolutely. I loved it with absolute pleasure. And I made it up in the bartending. My business proposal was getting better. I was learning about everything, what I was trying to do. I registered my business in April. I had already switched my bartending job to a, you know, fine dining restaurant.
Right.
And I was reducing my hours in my work. And I was teaching bartending in a bartending school that back in time I was trained myself in. And, I was not sleeping much, but I loved it. Like, it was not intentional. I couldn't sleep at nights. I had to be on the computer trying to build this plan. It was my passion. It's what I wanted to do every moment of my life.
Yeah. Most entrepreneurs have that, by the way. It's the playing in the sandbox.
It is, if you want to call it. It's so much fun. It's the funnest part of this whole Reagan journey to this day, honestly. Yeah. It's so good.
I want to just, because you move really quickly, but you said something that was really powerful. And I think a lot of 9-to-5ers that watch this or are watching this, no hate, but you're going to roll over. You said something about, why can't I have this experience every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that hit me, because it's so true. And I think so many people need to ask that question. What's the thing that
you
makes you feel alive?
Makes you feel alive.
So you're not sleeping awake.
Yeah.
And then why can't you have that every day?
Because that's a starting point to understanding what is it that fulfills you, what is it that you need to go after. You remember we were talking about they haven't found what they want to do. That's why they don't quit.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You got to start asking that question.
Yeah. I just wanted to hammer on that because, I kind of like you, I feel a need to share this with people because, and this is,
and we talked, podcast.
Yeah. So the name of the podcast is called Unconventional. And one of the questions I don't think I answered it at the beginning, but you asked me when we weren't recording.
Well, we should start.
And the idea for Unconventional came from this place of like, I don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. And I need a platform to give myself that freedom, but also give other people the freedom, especially in South Asian culture where you're always going down a predefined pathway. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, same pathway, every single person.
Yeah, it's so strong. Even my parents didn't force me, but it's so strong.
We know
it's so strong that it's your own head when you grow up, right?
Bred into you. So again, just because I took the leap and left that path and went into entrepreneurship, I feel the need to encourage other people to do the same. Unconventional, we came together, we talked about it. What does it mean to be unconventional? It's like walking your own path.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast with a friend of mine, Austin, and we talked about like giving advice. And I'm like, I don't really want to give advice as much as I enjoy it. I don't want to, because I want people to embark on their own journey. And that's how the podcast was born.
No, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I love it. I love, again, beside these bootleggers and how it's going and ending, again, as I said, the intention behind everything is really to contribute something for a little bit of a better life for everybody. Because I do believe that if people feel better, if they're more content, if they're happy, if they're fulfilled, they're not going to go out and kill each other.
Right.
This is the basics of human. It's not rocket science. We're all human. We know how this works.
For sure.
When you're unhappy, you seek something else. When you're not triggered, when you're not fulfilled, you go crazy and you go mentally ill and you start doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's why people kill each other. That's why it's war. That's why everybody's unhappy. That's why everybody's screaming. That's why all of that exists. Right?
Yeah, and even down to like just the micro level, like personal relationships suffer because you're unhappy. Yeah. If you're unhappy at work, you're going to cause problems in your relationship.
100%.
So it's all connected.
You're never going to have a good life.
Yeah, so dude, like I said, I love your passion. I love the ethics that you have behind Bootlegger, the product. The art's like one thing that always comes to mind.
So let me get you to it, because that's my partner. So I was getting to the partner. I'm going to make it quick. So it's the second bartending job, and when I registered my business, and basically I was out of engineering, I was working at this fine dining restaurant, and it was just open, and the assistant general manager was this French guy that was just from Japan. Actually, was in Japan, and before Australia, he was opening these hospitality projects. And in my head, and he's that Michelin star background, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to open this technical hospitality project at the front end, is art gallery and a place of thinking and experience, and back end and the music and all that. But at the end of the day, it's run from the financial perspective as a hospitality project. So I'm looking for the right people, right? And one day, and I would pay attention to him, right? I mean, Michelin star right away triggered me. And then one day I'm leaning over the bar, talking to a customer. He comes behind me after it's done and says, "Look, hey, Mr. Kam, how would you feel if you were sitting at the bar and the bartender was leaning to you like this in a fine dining restaurant?" And I'm like, "Not very good." "Yeah, so don't do it again." I'm like, "What do you do with arms?" Back, you can talk, you can see your face. And I was just like, man, I need this place in my business and in my life. This is this guy knows, right? He gets it. Jean Levin, that's my first business partner. So, and he's very big in the operations, pay attention to details, and been there, done that, right? So one day after work, we're drinking, and I'm like, look, I'm actually doing this, right? He's like, I'm in. Like, great. That's how he started with him, right? And he's the COO. He writes the operations from everything. He's also a flavor master. I mean, I have a mixology background too, but he's more on the flavor side and chooses, like we go over recipes together because he's a chef also, right, by background. So you got all of that. Then we come to the art. And Jean and I, after pandemic, I had to leave that whole hospitality project away. Everything was ready for that project. Jean was on board, artists were on board, everything was on board, funding, everything. I had a real estate. I placed an offer for the lease. When the lease was accepted, it was March 10 or something of 2021.
Right.
Or 2020. 2020, that's when the pandemic happened?
Yeah, 2020.
20. And I'm like, ooh, and the whole world is like cascading effect shutting down, right? And it got accepted it, and I'm like, let's wait before signing it. Let me be Canada's next, right? And Canada was next, so I never signed it. That whole project after 2 years, boom, gone, right? What a time. And then, you know, Jean and I officially started, like he joined me as a partner in the business officially after a few months, and we were brainstorming what to do. I did this underground thing in that period, the first period of pandemic that because I was off the job of bartending too, right? I'm like, I want to replicate the meal prep model of food, you know, the Hello Fresh, good food, that kind of stuff. They, you know, they have the thing, they send it to you with cocktails. So you have my menu every week changes, then you get single serving, maybe 3 or 4 single serving cocktails with ingredients all separated, marked with a video for thing. You just put it together. You don't have to go shopping, and you have a craft cocktail at home.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds like it was fun, you know.
The operations.
Operations. I had no license, no nothing. I just like underground the pandemic. I did it for a bit.
But you're also changing the drink every so often.
Every week. That's people loved it. You know, a lot of friends through social media and stuff. But obviously, I'm like, I can't do this illegally. But then that became the source of bootleggers later on, because then the first thing that Jean and I decided to do when we realized pandemic is not ending was to make a kind of a cocktail kit model to replicate that model legally by delivering through restaurants that have a license. And then that shifted into an Uber Eats model for cocktails, but not to be the Uber Eats, use Uber Eats. So restaurants have a license. They can now, after pandemic, deliver mixed drinks online, right? Sell it online. So we would be the recipe, we would be the mix. Then I met my food scientist along the way. We developed a trade secret that allows us to make this tasty, real drink, but shelf stable, right? It's not fake, it's real.
Right.
And that whole thing was going along. We're still figuring out. Now we're entrepreneurs, you know, we're doing all these models, you know, some sales, some marketing, still not quite there, right?
Figure it out, yeah.
Then I was introduced after we had Zoom parties. We were doing Zoom parties for people with our mixes, our cocktails. We were selling the boxes. They would receive it. They open it. We would do from a studio, the whole thing. And it was fun. I had DJs in the studio. We made a full-on experience out of it.
You say Zoom party like online?
Yeah, you remember Zoom parties, corporate Zoom parties and stuff? Yeah. We would be hosting those parties with our cocktails and music, the whole thing.
All your guests have drinks at their house.
Yeah. They were corporate, right? For example, Google for their staff, right? 100 people. We would hand deliver the boxes to them.
That's awesome.
It was so much fun. The hustle was great. And then after one of those events, we went to a summer of 2021 or 2, I don't know. And we went to Stanley Park, somewhere in Stanley Park, when there's a viewpoint. One of my friends had a DJ set, starting to play, sunset, beautiful. And I took all my team with me from the Zoom thing. And over there, one of my team members introduced me to her friend, this guy who's the artist, Kirash, and my third partner. And he's a fashion designer and a graffiti artist by background. He's like fantastic creative. And he was about to launch his streetwear at a time. He had the couture collection. He was in London Fashion Week, like big guy in 6, 7, right?
Right.
And pandemic happened, completely ruined him also, because he was trying to take his company public. It ruined him. Right now he's back grinding again. You know, I do a street because he wants to go back to his roots. You know, he's using his own graffiti as the print on the style of the fashion, and he designs the outwear as well. And he was launching that, and we started talking after 5 minutes, like we clicked, like it's like immediately, like same with Jean, like immediately. And I'm like, cool, man, we should do stuff together. He's like, yeah, absolutely. So 2 weeks later, I called him. I was like, I want to do a pop-up to launch our first edition of Uber Eats cocktails. You're trying to launch that too. Let's do a pop-up together. Absolutely. We took over a store in Gastown, like a storefront. It was empty.
Really?
We
Wow.
did a pop-up, a first edition of our Bootleggers Gala experiences. We had a whole vitrine of our cocktails. We were doing sampling. We had DJ playing for 2 days in a row. People were walking in. He had his art. He had his whole clothing line. It was a full-on immersive. People were coming in, hanging out, drinking, partying, buying, seeing, talking. It was insane. On a storefront in Gastown, right?
That's awesome.
Somebody was actually doing a live painting in the behind the window inside, like, in like a vitrine of the. It was insane. That was the whole start of a creative collaboration, right? Then after that, for 2 years, we did a lot of parties and events, and cocktail was part of it. Art was part of it, trying to create this whole cycle from bougie seated experiences to full-on rave.
Right.
And anything in between, right? With use of technology, projections, anything you can possibly imagine. Lost so much money along the way, right? But we built the audience, we built the trust, we built the brand. And finally, when Bootleggers were born, which is just January of this year, basically, right? Not that long ago, we put all of that together. We figured that the Uber Eats has a lot of steps. We have the mix, we have the trade secret, it's tested, people love the drinks.
Right.
We have the art, we have the artists, we have the partnership, we joined officially together, the three of us. Bootleggers were born, the first cocktail came out, and all of our events were directed to be a Bootleggers experience, which would be a marketing and sales channel for our product that nobody else can claim that I actually market my product and make money.
Yeah.
How can you do that, right? Like the drone show, right? Think about it. If I was going to be a sponsor to that event and give my product there and say, hey, put my logo in the sky, that's easily like a $20,000 expense, right?
At least, yeah.
I did the whole thing. Well, we pretty much broke even in that event because city costs a lot of money to get permits from. But, but that's a channel. We have our, it's our event and it's a different thing than it's our event. And technically it's free marketing. Let's put it that way. It's the most brilliant thing we've ever done. It took 3 years of hard work and losing money and this. But now we're at a point that we have this at our disposal, not in every market, but at least in our home-based market, we can market our own product and for free at the highest marketing level possible, right?
Right.
That's how it was born. That's how the collaboration started and became partnership. And Kiarash is a fantastic creator. Jean is a fantastic operator. We have these like complementary skill sets.
For sure.
And I'm a great vision. I'm the vision. He's the art and the brand. And relationships on the social side. He's the operation, the people, the flavor, the staff, the accuracy, sales even. And I'm the vision, the business behind it, fundraising, these seeds, like investors, that's all the relationships on the business end. And we work really well together. It's been almost now 2.5, 3 years that three of us have been working together. And it's hard to find people with their partners in entrepreneurial world that can seamlessly work together with them without that much trouble.
For sure.
It's very unique. We appreciate it. We love it. And,
Yeah, and when you get them, you got to hold on to them.
You got to hold on to them.
And build with them long term.
Look, every partnership, you all have your, sometimes differences. Of course, that's a point of growth. Otherwise, you can't grow, right?
For sure.
But we really get it. It's hard to find people who get it.
In fact, I would say like the disagreements are actually important because they feel comfortable enough to challenge your thoughts or ideologies. And I think that needs to happen for a business to grow, right? At every stage of the business.
100%. We make all decisions together, like, very open communication, very great, right?
Yeah.
And I always say, I had the journey, but now we have a journey because that's how it is, right? And his journey is now bigger and better than me, you, all of us. It's amazing, and I'm blessed that I could channel that and bring it in, and now we're all in this together.
So now, like you talked a little bit about how your direct marketing is creating real consumers or clients of the product. So you host these events, people come to these events because they're parties, they're fun. Their experiences, and then now as soon as they come through the door, you put a bottle of Bootlegger in their hand,
or they drink embedded in the whole thing. Exactly. I mean, the name of the event is
called Bootleggers
event. So and so, right?
Right. So I love that. First question is, when am I invited?
Next week, Friday, Aquarium.
I think I heard him smirk.
Yeah. Vancouver. Our next and last event of the year is at Vancouver Aquarium, November 17, next Friday. The tickets have been live for 4 weeks. It's crazy selling also. Is already almost getting to the capacity. But you're invited on my guest list, plus as many as you like.
You like that, Alexis?
100%. Hey,
can we bring him?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Are you serious?
100%. Like, when was the last time anybody could actually dance and like, you know, you're not necessarily just partying, but also you're in that environment with the live fish, the wildlife, the jellyfish, all sorts of this exotic underwater wildlife. And they're live. You see, you don't need that much. You don't need to add any decoration when that's the biggest impact of all life. And I always say, when you're in nature of any form, there is an energy that comes back, right? And that energy goes into the everywhere. And you are there. You're a different person. And you're complemented by good music, good people, good drinks, good vibe. There's visual. There's lots of art. You know, we work with a private art gallery in Vancouver, Charlie Rosso Art Gallery. Shout out to Susanna. I love her. She's the most amazing art gallery person. I've like, you know, mostly when you deal with art galleries, people who are a little more conservative in, you know, in like giving access for art to people. Susanna is the opposite. Like, she totally gets it. It's amazing to be able to find such a person to work with. We are like sharing this art with people, you know, Dali, Picasso, Matisse, you know, like Chagall. These are like masterpieces of modern art, right?
For sure.
That to be able to see that in an audience of millennials, Gen Z, millennial, a little what, you know, anywhere from like 20 to 50, basically in that range. We grew up understanding we don't have access to this luxury of art because art is in the Louvre. You have to pay, stay in the lineup, go to France for hours to be able to see Mona Lisa, right?
For sure.
But modern art is a little bit more accessible. But then it became an item for, you know, showing off to your friends as a rich family, right? It becomes a commodity for your wall.
Right.
And that's it, you know. And where do I get to see it? Vancouver Art Gallery.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Never. Like you got to go.
And it doesn't resonate. It's just like something on the wall.
And the whole thing was that if you're walking into art is the soul of this experience, right? This whole thing that we're trying to create for the experience and influence. If you're walking by an art piece, okay, gone. 5 minutes later, you went out and you don't even remember what you saw, right? Now you're seeing this art that is somewhat also connected with the rest of this experience. And you're having a drink, you're talking to people, you're making relationships, you're dancing, you're loosening up, you're coming back, you see it again, you're coming back, you see it again. You actually ask questions, you get engaged with, you know, the gallery people there and actually talk about it. You hear the history. You maybe even do a silent auction bid on it, right? It just, that never goes away. You forever, you remember that piece of Dali or Picasso that you saw in that event, right? That adds something to you. I think that's a side effect of what we do, that we're creating a whole new way of exhibiting art to people, which is experiential, right? Which has never been the thing in the art gallery, classic art gallery world, sadly. It's very sad. Like, I mean, I love art of any forms, and that's the biggest thing in my life, I think. But, you know, I'm happy that we have a channel to be able to do that.
Right.
You know, it's a blessing and it's a humble experience to be able to do that, honestly.
For sure.
And I hope it adds something.
Right. So, yeah, Kam, dude, I love everything you've talked about. I loved how it started off as like an inner work type journey for you, then transitioned into business and your life and connecting the dots. You asked that question, why can't I experience this every day? Those are all like really powerful things. So thank you for sharing your story here. I have to ask, like, what's kind of next for yourself, and then also Bootleggers as a brand?
Of
like,
course.
what's on the horizon for you guys?
Well, Bootleggers, we want to take over the world, right? We see ourselves as the Red Bull of the mixed drinks. You know, we're tying to lifestyle. I always say this: if the lifestyle for Red Bull was, you know, the adrenaline fueled lifestyle and events like the sports and that kind of stuff, for us, the adrenaline is replaced by art, and the experiences are the, you know, immersive parties, which music and art and cocktails are together. That's the lifestyle we're selling.
Right.
But there is a difference between the two, that Red Bull only resonates with one way of life, whereas we are trying to tap into the emotions that regardless of who you are, art triggers you. You can't deny that. We're all human. We all have the same 5 basic senses.
Right.
If you are a human, you would feel what I'm putting out there. You just need to take the effort to just come there and see it, or buy it and taste it, or that's it. You don't need to do much. There's no expectation of self-development. it does it for you. It adds that little punch, and enough punches creates a full knockout effect, right? So suddenly you're like, woo, okay, now I get it, right? So that's for bootleggers. We want to be global. We want to see this drink and this cocktail and these experiences in the hand and in every corner of the world as big as possible. Next year is full-on North American, takeover, especially in the United States, because it's easier with the alcohol licensing. Canada is very tough, but still BC is always, home is always there. And after that, hopefully all around the world. And along the way, myself, I'm really passionate about people, as you can know, and influence. I'm trying to channel all this energy, all this platform, all these good relationships that we are building to be able to slowly make my way into the world of public speaking, motivational speaking, share my journey with people and make an influence. At the end of the day, I think we are slowly formulating a very cool model to provide and have a deep influence and impact on human with emotions and happiness involved. And I want to leverage that and take it further and, be a person who could hopefully take a step that adds a little bit positivity to the world. And if I change the life of 10 human along my journey, that's a win.
For sure.
That on its own is a win. So for me, the journey has just been started. That's for me.
Hey, you guys heard it here first. That's good, man. I don't know if we're going to talk. We have a little bit extra time, don't we?
Yeah. Okay.
We do.
Okay.
We have a little bit extra time, but honestly, I think I think we could wrap it there. I mean, that's
sure.
Well, unless there's more stuff you want to talk about.
I have a lot of. I can talk for 24/7.
Man. Few hours.
I can go for a few hours. But I just want to say one thing that, there is a lot of disappointment. This is like you see this side of it here, right? In these stories when people talk and all that. It's not easy. Of course, it's not easy. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, right? It's tough. There's a lot of heartbreaks and disappointments and failures and all that. But the way you can, keep going without being disheartened and discouraged and quitting is passion. If there is no passion, it's not going to work. We can start a million businesses, make money, fail, this, that. The thing that keeps you going, despite the fact that you might need to pivot and change. I've done 4 pivots in the business so far, and we're doing more pivots. Pivots are a normal thing. It's not even a bad thing. You have to see what's changing and change with it.
Right.
Otherwise, you die.
Yeah. Other people see it as a pivot. You just think it's normal.
It's
normal.
This is
completely everyday
normal,
life.
of course. Right? But it's the passion that keeps it along, and the passion comes from that original mission and the vision that how to create that a reality that never changes. The change is on the surface. The change is on the delivery. The change is on the, details of how you make it more relatable or more sellable and all that stuff. Deep down, whether it's a can with art or is an experience in person or is a seminar or is a party or whatever that is, it's the same thing. We're trying to create an emotional experience leveraging art and alcohol as a trigger and technology in a lot of ways, right? You got to use technology to be able to make this more faster, to get this faster to people, right?
Right.
And it's all about, for me, that's the passion. I want to make that impact. I want to share my goosebump feelings of life with other people. I want them to feel it without the need to spend $10,000 for 1 week to go to Greece. Right. We can't do that every year, every month. Nobody. I can't do that. Right. Nobody can do that. How do we replicate that emotional experience? That's my passion. Now, your passion could be something else, but ask yourself those questions. Find your passion. And I don't think by writing goals on a paper, and I know this is the way of doing it, people are doing. Look, all those things are good. All those little steps that people teach you in coachings and sessions and all that. Oh, write your goals every day. This, but you got to understand, it's not about the writing. That what that gives you is seeing your own goals with your own eyes, so you can take it in and make it a reality.
For sure.
Maybe we should start teaching people as coaches, as influencers and all that instead of just, hey, every morning wake up, write down your goals.
Yeah.
So what? Give them the what. It's not about the action that is on the surface. It's about first understand, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
What's the mission? The why is the most important thing. First, the why. Answer the why, and the rest is history. That's it. And the why has to be passion related. That's my pitch for
Yeah.
finish. That
There.
you know what, find your passion, stick to it. You don't even need to stick to it. You will naturally stick to it.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
That's it, guys.
That's it.
We've
Thank you.
got Kam here. Kam, do you want to plug your social media as we wrap up? How can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Of course. So on the personal level, Kam.VP, and VP is the short for Volatile Project, which is the name of the business that I started, which is the parent company that runs everything. That's why Kam.VP on Instagram. Also, if you search my name, Kam Tabarraee or Kam Bootleggers, whatever, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Facebook as well, and all the social channels. TikTok, not so much, but get in there. And YouTube soon. And also Bootleggers Cocktail is our tag for everything. Bootleggerscocktail.com is the website. Bootleggers Cocktail is the Instagram tag, Instagram handle. And yeah, you can find me. I'm very easy to find because everything on my life is public. And you can easily find me. I love to always have a coffee with people, have a cocktail with people. If I can help you in any way, if you can help me in any way, if we can collaborate, if you want to come to our party, experience it. If you have a business proposal for me that makes me a billionaire, absolutely. If you make me a billionaire, I'll make you a billionaire. You know, that's always the case. But you know what? Another thing before we finish, since we had a few minutes, I really want to say that, look, also, there is limited time and energy for people. I know in the entrepreneurial world, we always like to go and talk and chat and have meetings and this. But focus on this. Before every meeting that you take or you go to or inviting somebody, ask yourself this question. Am I adding a value to this person? And is this meeting of that other person adding a value to me? If there is no value, if there is a little value and you could work on it, maybe there is something, right? And I'm not saying don't be social. No, but we all over social, I think, at this point. We have limited time. You got to run the business. Someone's got to run the business.
Someone's got to do it.
Try to be value focused in meetings, in groups. There are like 1 billion entrepreneur clubs right now in Vancouver, right?
Right.
Like just going out and having tea or coffee or wine or pizza is not going to make a difference. The real relationship is ask yourself, what is the value? Why am I going there? What am I expecting? What can I bring to the table? Mm-hmm. Let's help each other, really help each other. Mm-hmm. You know, let's add value to each other. There is nothing faster in growth than having a collective energy behind it rather than a singular energy. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to be able to collaborate, team up, do things together, but be value focused. Otherwise, there's a lot of waste of time and energy for everybody, right? And we all need to work and make money to live. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's very important. And I love the excitement and enthusiasm in the entrepreneurial groups in Vancouver now. But now let's make it more targeted. Let's get to the fruits. Yeah. I want to see the fruits coming out of it, right? Exactly. And focus. And I think that's something that we can all, as entrepreneurs, work on it. I'm actively every day working on it, trying to pinpoint that value, bring it to the table, and receive it on the receiving side. Yeah,
sweet. That's awesome. We've got a few minutes, so I'll do this, and then this is a question that came to my head as you were wrapping up. What kind of music do you listen to?
A lot of electronic music because I'm a DJ as well, right? DJ Shaker official. The reason is because I used to shake a cocktail, so I call it DJ Shaker. I play electronic music, but I grew up in jazz and blues and rock and roll, and later on, like the classic rap and hip hop, like, you know, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre style. And eventually, I became got into more electronic music because it's a simple fact. We all love music. Music evolves too. Electronic music is kind of the evolved version from the production perspective. You can produce something that the electric guitar with the synthesizer back in the time of Pink Floyd would take hours. And that specific person who was the genius, right, to do it. You can replicate that 5 minutes later on a computer today. Right. 10 times better with the diversity of the frequency that you want to generate. Exactly. It's I think that's also another openness into a whole different part of art. It's good to combine things. I used to play instruments myself. You know, I used to play classical guitar. That's how far deep in that side I was back in time. But I like electronic music. I like to play. I like to listen. Different forms. I'm not into more EDM style as much. I'm more into house and funky house music and stuff. Cool.
Yeah, that was something that came.
Yeah. How about you? What do you listen to?
I listen to literally everything, but like
they say, whoever says that is.
No, I'll tell you because I'm trying to dodge the question. More recently, I was listening to Sid the Musawala. So the reason I asked you this question is because his song got stuck in my head. It's like a really deep song, and I was thinking about his story because he came in, really changed the world with music. Yeah. And he became a politician, and then unfortunately, we know what happened with him. Yeah. So, But yeah, it was just his song has been stuck in my head. But I listen to a lot of different types of music,
me
mostly
too.
rap, hip hop, and then.
And I think it's amazing. It's a diversity of you got to be able to understand it.
So we have this game that Karn and I played on a few episodes. It's called the Rapid Fire game.
Okay.
So I will rapid fire, semi-rapid words at you, and you can only respond with one to two words. One to two words. So it's not long answers.
Yeah,
just quick.
yeah, got it.
Okay. And then we'll wrap it up after that. Let's go passion.
Work.
Let's go bootlegger.
Life.
Let's go family.
Life.
Iran.
Past.
Engineering.
Process. Yeah.
Love.
Well, how do I say it? Inside. That's maybe.
Traveling.
All the time.
Happiness.
Lifestyle.
Money.
There.
That's a great answer. Business.
Here.
Yeah. Unconventional.
Here.
Yeah.
I love it. Unconventional.
Best podcast in the Lower Mainland.
Unconventional. Big time.
So my goal is to actually make this one of the best podcasts in Canada. So
it's amazing, man. I love the vibe and the whole thing is cool. It's cool to see that. It's, podcast is also not tough because everybody's trying to do podcasts, but it's cool to focus on a niche and different people. You're doing great. I mean, I've seen a few episodes I looked up and all that stuff. It's cool. It's cool to be unconventional. I love to be I'm an unconventional person.
It gives me the flexibility to interview anyone. Right. Actually, the real brains is Alexis behind the desk there. He's the real brains. But cool, man. Thanks again for coming on the show. I appreciate having you on.
Of course.
I'm looking forward to the event on November 17th.
Next Friday, not this Friday.
Next Friday, Alexis and I, we're going to show up.
Absolutely.
Bring your best suit, Alexis.
Yeah. We always say it's a gala, but creative attire. It's not formal. It's creative chic.
Right.
Get colorful. Be funky.
So if you guys haven't already bought tickets to the event, you can get them online.
You can get online at all of our social channels website. The link is all over. If you won't miss it. bootleggerscocktail.com. You'll see it.
Thanks again for tuning in for this episode of Unconventional.
Finish it with a cheers?
We should, yeah. If you have anyone that you think should be on the show, swipe up, DM me, shoot me a message. You know how to get in touch. Thanks again, Kam. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Cheers.